Hello, we're live. SD Spooky Adventures with Janine and Debbie, and I'm going to throw it over to Janine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Ghostly Tales with Janine and Debbie. Today we're going to talk about a cemetery here in San Diego in our Old Town area. It's called El Campo Santo Cemetery, one of the very first cemeteries here. And we brought along a special guest today. Her name is Brandie, and she is a co-host or a ghost host with me over at Haunted San Diego Ghost Tours, as well as a paranormal investigator.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so honored. I love that we get to actually talk about our adventures live with people, and that it's just not through an exchange of text messages and weird photographs, because we have a lot of photographs between us.
Definitely some really weird experiences. It's been about 4 years, I think, since we first met. We won't name the other company we used to work for, but we went together to Haunted San Diego Tours, and we're continuing that ghostly, spooky friendship.
We are.
You guys are, I've been with Janine to that cemetery. So El Campo Santo Cemetery in San Diego. It is so creepy, though. It is really creepy. The things that have Janine's gone through, and I can't wait to hear about you guys' stories too.
Yeah.
I will say that the cemetery was established in 1849 with burials until 1879. It's a little tiny cemetery, but there are 477 souls that are buried there. And what's the most interesting, I would say, is if you're walking up the street, there are little gold coins in the sidewalk and the street as well, about 20 of them in the front there, because at some point they actually moved the walls in to make more road space to get back and forth between Old Town and the new city they had formed called New Town, which is currently our gas lamp quarters. So looking at it, you'll just see how small this cemetery really is, and to just try to comprehend the fact that 477 people are buried there is mind-boggling.
That they know of,
for sure.
That they know of. So yeah, when they expanded the road to make room for the railways and for cars, because back then it was horse and buggy, and that's why the roads are rounded and curved, was to make room for the railway. And then as they expanded, they sort of paved over, if you will, the bodies, and they started realizing that there was more and more bodies that were in the streets that exceeded way beyond their expectation. And so, as I guess good Samaritans, they had to exhume them. And then they placed these little divots that say grave sites in the sidewalks and in the streets and across the street from the cemetery. So what they could find right through the sonogram was 400 and however many bodies are buried there. And these poor unfortunate souls, if you will, that never really were validated, right? A lot of them don't have names. They're anonymous. They are part of our history, and we can't honor them other than going there and telling their stories. So when we tell their stories, all these things start happening.
It's super sad because, back when I was a kid, we used to go there all the time for field trips. And this was one of the spots, was this cemetery. And there's little coins on PVC pipe throughout the cemetery for the people who couldn't afford to have tombstones. Now they're going through the records, and they were able to take the number from these little coins, and they had a picture and a description of who was buried there. Right. But then we had vandalisms take place over the years, and whoever took over taking care of this cemetery didn't care enough to fix that portion. So now you see these coins with a number printed in them, but you have no clue who is actually buried there.
Yeah, it's weird, because also when you walk up into the cemetery and they have that little plaque that talks about the history, and then you have that bulletin board that's right sort of to the right that had all the numbers and the names. They changed it. Maybe they realized it wasn't the right history or the right name. They did add photographs, which is kind of interesting, but it is a little sad that they don't maintain that and give it as much love as it deserves, because that is like the second oldest cemetery in San Diego. And that was one of the only locations back then when it was becoming Old Town, and a lot of mix of different cultures and history and religion. And, I just feel like there's a lot of internal friction going on in between these graves, unresolved for sure. Because how else do you explain what we've captured?
Yeah, I started investigating there pretty consistently starting in 2010. It's actually where I met my buddy Chris, who's my co-founder for Spirit Paranormal. We just happened to be in Old Town investigating at the same time. And she's like, wait, she's talking about ghosts. Let's go join that group. And so we became best of friends after that. But, in those years, there has been so much crazy activity in that cemetery. And I know, Debbie, you've also had some weird experiences in El Campo Santo with us.
Oh, yeah. We always encountered something that was more aggressive and maybe protective or aggressive. I will never forget, the great story that you have about the cigarette.
I actually have a video of us having that soldier smoke a cigarette. It's very interesting. But when we tried to film the very first time this cigarette being smoked off of the Germans' cross, everybody's cameras either shut off with no power to them or had weird lines going up and down. And in that exact moment, I kid you not, there was 6 of us there, plus 2 guys who happened to wander in to see what we were doing. That cigarette lifted up off that cross, ashed itself, and set itself right back down.
Like someone was actually just
smoking it. And we know that cigarettes are set to self-extinguish because too many people were catching their beds on fire, falling asleep smoking.
Yeah.
This cigarette will literally, big full drags coming off of it. It will smoke all the way down to the end. He does not like menthols. We can't get him to smoke a cigar, but regular cigarettes, he will. I will tell you this though, when that cigarette lifted and ashed, we all were just like, wait, what? Because if it had jumped or something from something popping in it, it would never have set itself right back where we had it. But the 2 kids that were watching, that were interested in what we were doing, they left super quickly out of the cemetery. Well, they didn't use the front gate though. They jumped the fence and we could hear them screaming as they were running down the street.
Wow. That's crazy.
There's a bench in there still, right? A bench?
Somebody took that bench.
Oh no, because I always thought that there was a female ghost there.
Yeah, someone stole that bench. Even though they had it chained, somebody came through and stole the bench.
Oh shoot. They have no place to sit now.
Okay. It's amazing how many people have vandalized and tried to steal so many things from that cemetery, which we know is bad juju 1.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing in there. There's tombstones, there's crosses, there's a bunch of rocks. There's nothing really of value other than the beings that are there, right? So they're really going to another level to purposefully, light something on fire or steal a bench or, maybe even one of the little divots, some of the divots that say gravesite are missing. People are up there, trying to pop these out and
popping them off. Yeah. There's right by Yankee Jim, one of our main characters. He was a criminal that got hung and his hanging went crazy and his burial was not even any better. But right near him, there's a little coin that had a number printed on it. Somebody physically pried it off of where it was and took it with them. So why?
People are.
It takes all kinds when you go anywhere, like Bodie Ghost Town. Well, people are grabbing anything there and the glass and then shipping it right back because they have bad luck.
I've heard crazy stories about Bodie and people taking rocks and glass and stuff from there. Do not ever take something.
Don't ever take anything from a cemetery, sacred ground, spooky house, whatever it is. Leave it. Take a photo of it. Don't try and bottle it. Don't try and collect the dirt. Don't be disrespectful. A lot of people will walk over the graves and you're like, what are you doing? They have no sense of when you see kids that are playing in the dirt around these cemeteries and these plots, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Does no one realize like that's a big no-no?
It's the respect, or it's not taught, but it's disrespectful. And I think that's gone away, for a long time now because of the people wanting to do crazy things, sacrificial things,
Yeah.
besides desecration and, really messing, up and moving the headstones,
Yeah.
really just
Yeah.
going and toppling them over. And, it's just disrespectful. And, I think that's, you know, not being supervised by whoever, but kids get into gangs and there just takes one to say, go do it, put them a dare, and there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we're talking about things being stolen. So, there is the grave digger, and he dug almost every single grave that's in that cemetery. It was his punishment for killing his wife. Now, Brandie and I have been giving ghost tours in this area for many years, and there's a photograph that we sent in to you, Debbie, of her in front of the grave digger's grave. There's some weird mist coming out of her hand. So you have that photo, and then we have one of it
Is it that one?
enlarged.
Yes.
This one,
So that was the original photo that was taken. I was talking to this young girl, and her mom took that photo. And what she noticed first was like there's kind of like a light that's surrounding me, like illuminating, which is weird because there's no light to reflect this. And then she sees this sort of smoke coming or mist coming out of my hands. And then when we zoomed in is when you see that whatever that is, we don't know what that is.
Definitely like a skull face or something in there.
I've never had it happen since. I've never had anything similar other than there's another photo that we might get to where I'm at Yankee Jim's grave and there's smoke like this coming up from underneath me. And then it kind of floats up to like I'm wearing an outfit. So 2 times have I had a weird mist, but nothing of that, whatever that entity is. We don't know what that is.
And this just happens to be the grave digger's grave. So, like I said, stolen items, he may be acting out because in the 80s and then again in the 90s, somebody stole his lantern and his shovel that were hanging there on the grave.
Someone's
not a happy camper about that.
Okay, so I went ahead and asked the other side what this was.
Okay.
And so what I did get, and I would hope that there might be validation somewhere on this, but they're showing me that there was a skilled man that was a teacher, and also comes with it, of course, with my devil card. So a lot of negative energy here. We have to be careful of this guy. I do feel like he was strong. He has a lot of strength now, and he did then, like very physically fit. Something happened to him where he was like, I had to judge his life. Like, the angels came. You got to judge your life. I get that he quit something abruptly. I also get his life was riddled with paranormal activity and protection, being protected, and trying to do that. So they're showing me that is there is actually a strong male.
Wow, that's so interesting because there's a little bit of mystery about the gravedigger. No one really knew a whole lot about him other than that he was a man of God. He went to church every Sunday, and he had a relationship with alcohol, and he had a very abusive relationship with his wife. And rumor has it is that he got in a fight with her and he killed her in his drunken stupor. And we're not sure where she's buried. And then his livelihood as punishment was to dig graves for the rest of his life. And so from his early 20s to he was 100 years old, and he buried the last body. So rumor has it he has dirt on everybody. That's our little grave digging story. That he had a lot of strength to do that. And maybe in some ways he was a teacher. He did build his home out of the bits and pieces left over from the graves that he dug. And there's a book about him called The House of 100 Coffins. And he became a recluse after his sort of livelihood, and that, maybe that's part of it. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, the
Well,
cemetery is so old.
there's a lot of entities there, and they're
Yeah,
all
a
over the
lot.
place, and they're not ones that are necessarily buried there either.
Correct.
We know when we go to different haunted houses and stuff, we get looky-loos, what we call. One
Yeah,
night here, we had a seance, Brandie, and we had a seance in this room. It's a kind of a big room, and I ward everything, so the spirits have to stay out unless we invite them in, because
right.
we need to sort them because we're doing a seance. And Janine and Chris were looking out the window, and Janine, you guys saw like the spirits could not come in, the ghosts couldn't come in. So they would just come up, float up, and look in, and float up, and come back
Now
up.
this is on the second floor, so nobody can be out the
So
window.
they're,
And you're just
they're,
gonna,
they're not just,
hi guys, we see you.
oh my gosh.
It's like you're not coming in. Yeah. So I mean, there are a lot of people that come in when we're downtown at the 10th Avenue Arts Center. We have an occasional person coming in off the street, spirit coming in.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
imagine, because there's so many graves everywhere there, that they're there. And
Yeah.
the disrespect that San Diego did over and over, Pioneer Park and here,
Yeah.
they're going to be unsettled.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an iconic photo. I have to say, like, I don't know if there's like, a blue ribbon for spookies, but this is definitely like, right up there. And, we talk about it. And when people ask me on my tour, what's the scariest thing that's not ever physically happened, but this is one of the most kind of uncomfortable things that's ever been caught. And we don't know much about this energy or entity. So thank you for bringing that, to forth that,
I mean, you can see there's a skull or a man's
there's a
head.
skull. Yeah. There's a darkness. There's a sadness there. It took a lot of its energy to manifest my hand. That looks distorted. The light, there's a lot going on in that photo.
I mean, when you look at my cards of, let me just bring this down. When you look at my cards of the devil and the worry, like way too much worry. And then I have the moon, which is paranormal activity going on, communication with the other side. So he may just want to communicate. This man, though, was worried because he had gotten hurt before. He wanted to make sure he didn't get hurt again. So he's very protective. But I definitely get that he was skilled. And, kind of somewhat a very responsible and skilled person. And he had my mentor card, like showing somebody how to do something,
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's another skilled card. So he figures in there somewhere, but he's the way to present that creepy,
and
energy.
Well, you can feel the energy just looking at the photo. So as soon as she showed me the photo, I kind of got kind of tingly all over. And then when we enlarged it, like every single hair on my body stood on end. It was.
I was like, Janine, what do I do? What do I do? Do I? What happens? And she's like, well, walk out first. Walk out of the cemetery and take your shoes off and ground yourself. I was like, okay. And I'm very frazzled because you're going to capture photos and things and paranormal activity and orbs and whatnot, but that was like the next level. And I was like, is this going to happen on every tour that we're doing? Because I don't know if I could do this. And I never know what's happening. Right. It was like it was like a whole nother just up. And the woman that caught it, obviously, because, she's on the tour and this was the last spot on the tour. And, so she obviously texted me that photo because I was like, can you send that to me? And I didn't realize what it was until I enlarged it and I showed Janine, and it was a game changer. It was like, okay. And I didn't feel any bad way about it. I mean, I came home, I saged my home, I did a little prayer, and I was like, took a hot shower, and I was like, please, whatever it is, like, you cannot come to my house or come follow me. And
the creepy guy cannot come in.
Yeah, this creepy zombie doll thing, whatever this is that's showing itself. Why it chose me, I don't know. It never came back, thank God. And I've caught other weird stuff in the cemetery too, but that is like our iconic classic paranormal, whatever that is, photo.
When I've encountered ectoplasm, I really only got the really bad negative energy, and that was when it was the hag. And my
Ah,
thing, I went down to put my hand through her. I want to
yeah.
feel you. But other times, it's to me like something wanting to form to present to you. But that one was creepy. The guy didn't know where.
It presented itself. It used my hands and my phone as a way of kind of peeking through my arm, and we were like, oof.
Using all that energy to manifest
And of course,
itself.
my guest, she's, I don't know, I'm not an expert in this, and she's like, "What do you think it is?" I was like, "I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't tell you." We're done.
I got the devil card, so it really, there's negative energy that can always be a ton of fear.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like this person was, just a ton of fear and protecting himself. And
Interesting.
so coming out that way. And, they're so hard to get that much energy up to get that photograph
Yeah.
that he's a
A
strong
lot.
personality. That was amazing.
That's
But
a
maybe they don't know what they're going to form. Okay,
Right.
let's form. And you go,
And it's like
sign
this
of the cross.
little scary.
You just never know. I got one apparition that was just her arm inside of her face. Like, you're like, okay, well, it's not your whole body, but we know that you're there. That actually kind of leads us into the next set of photos that we have from Brandie. So one of them, you're going to see like a fencing area, and there's like a circle. There's like a little shadow kind of in that circle area there. This grave is back towards the front, I believe, of the cemetery. And I believe it's a judge that's buried inside there. But what's interesting is, so she captures this and you can kind of see it in there peeking through the bars. But the next photo, it moves towards the front wall of the cemetery. You can see its full shadow shape in the background there.
So what's interesting about this photo is because the cemetery is so tiny, and some of these plots have these palyards around them to sort of protect them from people that would steal their graves. And when I was zooming in on the face, it looked like it was like a woman, like a Native American woman. You could see kind of the outline of her face and the shape. And then in the back corner is where that judge is buried. And this judge was not a very good person. And he did some dirty deeds to some people in that cemetery. So there's a lot of conflict going on in that corner. And next to him is a very famous Native American who led his tribe, Gara. And we think that it could have been a spirit of him or another person. But it's definitely a shadow figure that is peeking up behind that little fence. And I didn't even notice this until like later down when I was going through all my photos, because it's hard to tell when you're in the dark, right, what it is. But when you zoom in, there's definitely a face and a body there, or an apparition.
And this one's undeniable because there's nobody there to cast a shadow.
No, there's no light.
Nobody there, but there's
no
definitely a shape of a person.
Well, we're used to shadow people, and there's, definitely the light isn't supposed to be bringing these forms in and running around. But to me, they're a whole different thing. Though I feel like ghosts probably can do a lot of different things, but the shadow people are very intriguing to me. And we see them a lot in the cemeteries.
Mm-hmm. So it was a good capture, I guess. I didn't realize until after, because we take so many different photographs, and this was on a non-tour night. I was just meandering through the cemetery because that's what we do as little paranormal investigators on our downtime, getting to know our territory. And I'll just take a bunch of random photos, 10 or 15 photos, flash, no flash. And I thought that at first was a shadow casted by the tombstone that's in the front. But when I realized, when I zoomed in, it's not, because there is no light. That light that you see behind is coming from a restaurant. It's like the little lights that hang. There's no street lights that are causing that. And You could definitely see the outline of a man's face in there with kind of like an old grumpy man. It's really interesting that, yeah, we don't know what it is. Can't explain it.
This cemetery has so many different characters from the afterlife still kind of wandering around. Like, just if you were to walk all the way to the back of the cemetery, just from that corner, the other corner has a weird grumpy man inside there. He's yelled at me since I was a young kid. And Brandie can tell you, it could be freezing cold, 35 degrees in that cemetery. You walk into that corner that's adjacent to that towards the back of the cemetery, and it's at least 10 to 15 degrees hotter in that.
Which is so weird, because how do you explain heat? Heat isn't, I don't feel, a common element when you're dealing with, spirit energy. Usually it's cold and it's consistent. And we thought, okay, maybe, is there a vent? There's nothing there. We're in the middle of a street. There's no heat. There's no element.
No heat source whatsoever.
Yeah. So you feel it just in that corner opposite of that. And people have
Is it next to a building?
There's a restaurant on the other side of it. It's called Tahama. It's like a little restaurant that's right next to the graveyard.
The only thing I would do, because we are, as investigators, we also skeptics, that we have to be.
Correct.
It would be a hot water pipe. But if it's too far away, that wouldn't make any sense.
There's a pretty good gap between them. There's like a little walkway that goes between the restaurant and the cemetery. Yeah. We find homeless people sleeping back there every once in a while when we're on our tour. So that might scare our guests when we hear them roll over and make a noise, of course. But I know in that back corner, there's definitely something back there. When I was first getting into investigating, I wasn't really picking my wording properly, I guess. And so, as a kid, I heard it growling at me and yelling at me to get out of the cemetery because it didn't want me back there. So as an adult, I came back in, and my very first thing when Chris and I went back there, I said, all right, I'm an adult now. You're not allowed to growl at me. You're not allowed to yell at me. Leave me alone. You're not doing this. But I was kind of rude about it. And so I got scratched.
And I was just going to ask if you got scratched.
Welts that looked like burns, like it was really bad. It was on fire for days afterwards. Nothing I've ever experienced before in my life.
I just more evil in that one. Is this a cemetery over by the road where there's a grave outside and a grave inside?
Correct. Yeah, that's what those little gold coins are. So it's the same cemetery, but they moved the walls in.
Was there a wife, though? Was this the one where there was a wife buried outside and the husband buried inside the cemetery?
Actually, on the opposite corner, so if you go all the way to the back where this grave is, on the other side, there's two men that were involved in like a uprising with the Native American Gara. One of them is buried outside of the fence. One of them is buried inside.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
But I didn't learn my lesson after getting scratched. And this is very early on. So a few months later, Chris and I go back, and I'm like, look, you scratched me last time. Do not do that again. And I was, again, a little rude and aggressive. He didn't scratch me this time. He bit me.
Oh, no.
And I'm talking a full set of teeth on my rib cage.
Wow.
Oh, my
I learned not to taunt that day. You do not taunt spirits.
No, you don't.
Choose your words and your tone wisely. Firm is okay. Just be nice about it.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, we have a lot of stuff that, the wampum tree over in Pioneer Park and stuff where, and Chris, really, that her injuries were, I think, some of the worst I've ever, heard about, that a spirit, attacking her, even though in the end, it was a protective maneuver on its part. She was really socked one, right.
She got the full-blown Heimlich maneuver that made her pee and vomit. And when I saw her a few hours later, she had bruises from the spirit giving her that Heimlich maneuver to get her away from that tree.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of being sarcastic. She's like, who's personal what, because that's
Yeah.
what came out of the obvious was personal. It's just like personal tree, personal space. Like she was a little bit sarcastic about it, and he gave her one.
Wow. Pioneer Park, that's a whole nother show we'll have to do.
Definitely a whole other show.
I have some crazy video and things that I caught, last summer in Pioneer Park using different equipment. And I caught so many little kids in conversations, and there's like a little park, because it's a park basically, right? And there's a cemetery in the back. And I caught some kids sliding down and playing in the playground that popped up on my SLS camera, and conversations, and them climbing up the trees and coming up to us. Like, it was just like unbelievable footage that you can never explain. And you can't just talk about it to the ordinary person when you're like out in a cemetery at midnight, like things are happening. But
we've gotten shadow figures of children peeking out from the trees when we played hide and go seek with them. We got
there's a lot of kids in that area. Yeah.
Well, there is a section where the children are buried, and also it's a school. So what natural thing would be if a child passed over might be to go back to school and play.
Yeah.
And with all the children coming out to use that area when they give them some free time out of the playground, I mean, of course, it's going to attract the child's spirits. My son was the one that helped us capture the EVP of the hide and go seek session, because literally whatever we were dealing with kept pausing our recorder, but you could hear it counting backwards from 10. So it was like 10, then we hear 7, then we hear 3. Yeah. And so Chris is telling it, please stop pausing my recorder, because you could hear it shut off. You can hear us turn it back on. Okay, please don't pause the recorder anymore. And then it would continue to pause it. Our very last portion of that EVP was, I'm pausing it. And we were like, we're definitely dealing with a kid right now.
When? Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah. You can't lie with photos.
Go ahead.
No, I said you can't make it up when you have photos. You can hear things or trick of the eye or think you saw a shadow, but when you capture something and you share it with another person, it's just like, it's timeless. You're capturing something in real life that who knows, where it came from or what they have to say, but they're trusting you in some weird way. They're coming forth because they're feeling comfortable enough to be like, hey, other than that weird, scary thing that attached and showed itself, maybe it was
it's like, nothing.
Right. This is my territory. And it just happened to be when I was on a tour, which is so interesting. But
well, especially when you have a group of people with you and these photos are popping up, these videos, these audios, and nobody heard them or saw them in that moment, but they show up in the video and photo. Like, there's no way to really explain that away. Like, especially, like I said, that last photo that we just showed, whatever that shadow figure is, there is nothing, because of how far back you were taking the photo, to cause that reflection. There was no person there. So it's just quite interesting.
Yeah, it is.
What I think is really neat is when you're experiencing a paranormal activity with someone else, with others. And I was so glad that, I had a remote control come off the TV and float across my living room slowly and angle down and then stop at my husband's foot, at his toes. And he goes, well, that was weird. And I go, you think? Do you understand now what's going on? So, and he's an engineer. So, the remote would go home. It's not going to go la, 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 la across the room.
Right.
And so you have that validation, and so when we're in these situations where we have the people and we have the equipment, and then we can, capture great things. Oh, Janine blows me away with your pictures that you have, your photos. But
the cover of my book is taken in that cemetery.
Right.
The cover of my paranormal life was taken in that cemetery. I had something grab a hold of me and tug on me, and boom, we took pictures. And there's a little girl peeking through the grave that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We have to keep that kind of a little bit of a scientific mind. But when you see this stuff, when you see what was in your hand, you can't make this up. This is something there. And me, I would have just been creeped out thinking it was on my hand or on my
I
arm.
was like, is it in my phone? Is it on my clothes? Is it like?
Well, that was my thing. I was like, it looked like you had ectoplasm on you, which
is
was
it coming out of me? Am I
lit.
releasing some weird thing? Like, like what's happening? Am I expelling a demon, or has this been with me the whole time? And yeah, it was very startling, and it still stumps us to this day. And I find it like a class A, if you want to call it, you know, a photo of an entity, an energy, good, bad, whatever it was. It spooked me enough and intrigued me enough to keep going on my tours. And you know, I don't know. I haven't captured that since. I've captured other amazing things, but yeah, when other people capture it and it's not coming from me, then it's even more mind blowing, like that photo. And I was just talking to this little girl, and it was just like, oh my God. And we're like, tour's over. We're done. I got to go.
Especially when they share it with you right there in the moment, and there's no time for them to Photoshop it, you know? So you're like, it's a legit
that was
photo.
just in real time. And she's like, hey, I got this weird thing, and I don't know why you're smoking, but this, what do you think it is? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Let's zoom in. Or like, I don't know what it is. Zoom back out. Okay.
Like, I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that so I can sleep
we're
tonight.
discussing. This is the end of the tour, so we're good. And yeah, thank you.
Saint Benedict always works.
We're just like, okay, on. So that's yeah.
Well, I think it was a very troubled soul. Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's the spirit of a man as far as what I get. And but you know what? He just was so strong to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And but when you look, like, I have a friend that they do mediumship where they apport things, and they get the ectoplasm and half an arm coming out of the cabinet and all that stuff. So you never know what's going to come.
Yeah.
You know? And if it's going to be ectoplasm, that's kind of icky looking anyway. So you just have to have an eye, and it's remarkable to get all these things. EVPs are absolutely fantastic to get.
They are, right? I mean, just, yeah.
I think we're really trying to get people to really understand this stuff is real. It's real.
It's real.
I get the spirits. I tell the people what's going on, you know, and I go, I can see the person. And they're saying, yes, that's what she says. That's what she looks like. That's everything you say. And you're like, how do people not really understand that the spirit world is there and it's real? And we have, not only do we have the wonderful spirits, we do have some dark spirits.
Clearly.
And yeah. So,
you know, Debbie, we have to find the video when we did the table tipping at your house, because you can tell that we barely are kind of hovering over this table, and that table really got to rocking. It's interesting how they interact with us.
That it was an antique table. I've got several of them around here. And we made sure that was, you know, kind of level, and it was on tile and all of that. But yeah, table tipping is kind of a lost art. Not everybody's doing it anymore.
Yeah.
But I went to, I facilitated an event for the public where we had a very well-known person from the East County come in with her brother, and that table went all the way down the aisle, and then it'd go to a person like Janine and go, hello, like this, you know.
Wow.
And I went, you know, yes or no question, and then go. And of course, I had the people stand up, say, this isn't from God, you know. And I'm like, it's a spirit, man. Come on, it's a spirit.
It's sad that everybody jumps to evil immediately, though.
I know.
It is.
Oh my
fear
gosh.
factor is, you know, to assume it's something bad is happening, but this energy is around 24/7 every day. It's just whether or not you're in tune to it or how you perceive it.
And that table was dancing.
Yeah,
it was more dancing than anything crazy.
Yeah, 3 a.m. is the magic hour.
It is. Oh my gosh. They used to just go bam, 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 right on my interior master bedroom door. And I would wake up, and I thought at the beginning, oh, it's not midnight, because midnight's when it happens. Because I watch TV, right?
Yeah.
And I go, then somebody goes, I said, this is terrible. It's so loud. And 3 times, and they wake me up and they go, well, 3 a.m. That's when you're closest to the other side. And I'm
Yeah,
like, that makes sense now.
right. So I don't know, Janine, maybe we'll have to go out at 3 a.m. and see what happens.
Let's set up an investigation. I think we should. We'll just do like a little meetup. We can all get out there about 2:30 in the morning and have a nice little 3 a.m. investigation.
Let's put it to its test of, what's happening, because we're always in sort of like these off hours, in the early evenings, 6, 7, 8, 9, but never at 3 a.m. everything happens. And
so I have 760 plus people in the meetup in San Diego. That's my group.
Let's do it. Let's set up a meetup. Yeah. We'll do a 3 a.m. investigation in Old Town, and
let's just see, because we can go into the cemetery, right? We can go into the cemetery at any time, or at least those facilities, and see what happens, and just walk around. I mean,
definitely. The area is active pretty consistently anyway, but in the late night, there's less contamination, so you can definitely tell whether you're getting spiritual activity opposed to, okay, there's people over behind this building doing something.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's
and we can have snacks
in the cemetery.
Yes, snacks at 3 a.m. too.
Well, Brandie, you probably don't know, but Janine and I put on like a scavenger hunt in Dearborn Cemetery in Poway. And so I had prizes for the people that got, the most things off the headstones. And we had cupcakes. And we had a soul rescue.
Right. You just never know what's going to happen with us. Soul rescue. Somebody gets levitated. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
Pushed in their hair
thing. Yeah, I don't know, but
lots of little taps, hair touching, little tugs on your sleeves,
taps on the shoulders. And when the lady with the weakest link, the lady with the cane got pushed, and
communication with frogs. They use the frogs to communicate with us by making them get quiet and then making them chirp.
Okay.
Like,
I love it.
That's the most scariest place in San Diego to me.
The deer
highway. No.
Caranots
Memorial. That is when they were talking through the crickets and the frogs and just say, and okay, so if it's a yes, whatever. If it's a no, be quiet. And then they go la 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 la.
And then they just dead silence, no sound whatsoever.
Over and over and over again.
Well, animals are obviously intuitive to things, so they're kind of like a conduit for energy. Wow.
Yeah,
okay. Well, we have a few things we have to do for 2024, Janine. We have to work on our paranormal game at 3 in the morning.
Well, we're definitely in touch with Jeff at the 10th Avenue Arts Center. I'm setting some dates for the coming year. We're going to be doing some that start at midnight until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And we're going to last that long just because it is our downtown area. We don't want anybody driving home with the people who've been drinking all night long. So we're going to do late and into the early morning, but those will be going out on the meetup as well. But yes, definitely check out Brandie and myself. We will be putting out some meetups. We're going to be getting some fun paranormal stuff set together. Chris and I will be setting up some investigations as well. We want you all to come join us if you're in town, but don't worry if you're not. I know I've seen some people from London here. We'll make sure we get some video footage of these investigations so you guys can come along with us. We even sometimes do them live while we're on.
Yeah, you and I have talked about doing a live from time to time, and this might just be like the perfect conversation to have to really get things stirred up, if you will, because we have different schedules and our tours and all these different things. So these are such good photos. We'll do it. We'll make it happen.
That is the best one.
That's the best one. There's
so creepy.
It's very creepy. It definitely makes a statement. I feel like, you can't not acknowledge that, right? You can't pretend that it's not there. So a lot of these photos can be debunked as, reflections or light or whatnot or dust, but that is definitely not dust. That is definitely not a light. I did not sneak that under my dress. I did not bring that as a hoax. It looks like one of those, zombie dolls from Halloween, and that is not a screenshot of my phone. That is whatever was
definitely
there.
not pareidolia either, because that is solid, whatever that is. Like, people will see things in orbs from time to time. Whatever that is completely solid.
It wanted itself to be known, whether it was protecting its space or energy, or letting us know, like, I am here and this is my home, or you're cross passing, whatever it is. It shows
Like
me
a photograph of my face.
I don't forget, show everybody I'm here, and I've been showing everybody I know. So there it is.
It's
out there.
awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And what I love about paranormal investigators on the whole, they're the ones that, like Janine and I, and I'm sure you are the same, we run towards it. There's none of this this thing that screaming and running away. When I used to, when they first came out with the ghost hunting shows, and the guys would, go out, and then they're screaming and they're running away. And I'm like, run for it. What are you here
What are you
for?
doing? What are you there for?
A little scratch, a little bite. Come on, you'll live. So,
yeah,
well, I have plenty of scratches and bites over the years, and I'm still here. So
it's very interesting. It has a little level of, wanting to know more and understanding it more. And I feel like it is a conversation to be had, and that all of this is real and it exists because we've captured so much, and we have these conversations. And when you're talking to people and everyone that goes on our tour, obviously there's a part of them that's curious, right? Paranormal curious, I say. And they're hoping to capture something, but they're sort of scared if they capture something, because then it's proving to them that this exists. And when you're open to it, you're creating that memory. And this woman has a memory just like I have a memory. I hope she still has that photo, or unless she never went on another spooky tour, as long as she lives. That could be the other end of it. And, having these conversations and sharing it with the community is so important, because everybody has a different photograph or experience, or, table turning, or, scratches. All these people that are making comments, thank you for that. Yeah. Wow. It's, it's real. It's 100% real, and everyone.
Yeah. And I think there's something that people always think that they have to go to the Whaley house to experience paranormal activity. I probably had more in my house than anyone will ever experience. And on the level of things moving like this and waving and things floating and the BAMs and all this stuff, movement, I'm sure, I would bet money that between the three of us, you have something you go, I wonder where my necklace is. I left it right here. It's not there. I wonder where my necklace is. Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I tell them, okay, if you want it for now, fine. But when I need it back. And I'll tell you, and then bring it back. Then you find it randomly, where you put it, or where you thought it was, or somewhere out in the open.
Well, I always keep my divining rods kind of in between my seat and the center console. So if I'm in a place that feels spooky, I can pull them out and kind of communicate. But sometimes my guides are like, no, not today, because I'll reach for them and they're not there. I'm like, where do those divining rods go to? The next day when I'm somewhere else, they're right there. So, I mean, you just never know with the spirits what they're going to do.
Well, we also have our guides, and they're going to keep us, they're going to guide us, and they're going to keep us safe. And there's some times where I'll go and I'll grab something, a different type of cards to do or something. And I'll go, well, how come this isn't working? Or how come they all fell on the floor? Or how come I can't find them? And then you just go, well, that's not meant to be, not to do that. So,
well, like with Chris and us with the Ovilus, it uses some strange words from time to time that are not in the dictionary. But the one weird thing for me is our guides trying to keep us safe. The word Saturn coming out of that device means it is time to get out of there. Why? Because Chris drives a Saturn. And it gives us anytime something bad's going to happen, the police helicopters are coming, or someone's running through that's looking sketchy. Right before that, the word Saturn comes through that device, and we've learned get in the car and go. It's time to leave.
And you're communicating. So how great that is that you have that code word that comes through a machine that does not have Saturn programmed in it.
I'm actually kind of curious why it tells us thigh master. I mean, does it not like our thighs? Thigh master's definitely not in the dictionary.
Maybe it was a torture situation, you know?
Maybe.
I've gotten a lot of weird torture names of equipment and things that they use on women in Old Town when I'm using my Ghost Talker, my different apps and things that I would never use in my everyday vocabulary. And when I look them up and it tells me what it is and what it was used for, it is very, you know, shocking because how would this machine, how would this Ovilus, how would these, you know, apps know what that was during that timeline and talking to all these different like women, right? So in the back of the Whaley house, there's that house that they say was a brothel and there's things. And every time I go there and have, you know, a quote conversation and it uses repetitive, you know, torture treatment words that you're just like, oh my God, well, these poor women, like, I'm keeping all my goods, please, like, don't come for me. But they're telling their story. And it is like, how do you explain that?
Well, on the whole, they want to communicate no matter what. They come by, they come in, hello, you can talk to me, can you see me? Type of thing. So they're just, and there's more than, I believe there's more than just ghosts, you know, what we would call spirit. So we have all these little different things that, you know, can come forward that we have to deal with. I wanted to mention something. Kim Lunzer said that she had someone in person, I guess, got the cuts, a big cross on their back.
Wow.
So, yeah. Kaylee, you want to know about your guide or ask for a guide? You don't have to ask for a guide. You have one. And so if you don't know who they are or anything, you don't need to. Just say, guides, we're here to work together. Thank you for coming. And then always just address them. Guides, I need to do this. Help me do that. Or your archangels. Do want to throw that in and get that.
If you want to shoot me an email, I can actually send you a meditation that helps you connect with them, because I feel like when you're closer to sleep time, if you play this meditation, you're a little bit more open. And it does definitely help to build a bond and help you to meet that spirit guide. So if you go ahead and shoot me an email at SD Spooky Adventures, I'll go ahead and send that meditation over to you.
That's great. So Kaylee, if you didn't get that, just replay this video and you'll get the information. Awesome.
So we are definitely coming to the end of our time here. Again, I want to thank you, Brandie. Now, for everybody watching, if you are in San Diego or going to be in the San Diego area, Brandie and I work for Haunted San Diego Ghost Tours. So if you want to come out and experience Old Town San Diego with guides that are actual legitimate paranormal investigators, go ahead and call up Haunted San Diego Ghost Tours and ask for either Kat or Lizzie. My stage name is Kat. Brandie's is Lizzie. And come take a tour with us. We would love to have you.
Or if we go on a, you know, a spontaneous non-San Diego spooky tour, just us, anybody wants to come and join, that would be really fun.
We'll get those up on the meetup for everybody to be able to see when we're going to be out and about and have you join us.
Yeah, we've had some good experiences with spontaneous meetups in the cemetery and done a few things. So we're always down for that. If you want to wake up at 2 a.m. and see what we can capture, we're all about it.
So my meetup, and we do put things on there, is Psychic Fixes on meetup.com. And that's for San Diego area. We have a huge group. So this would be a lot of fun to do.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Yay!
I know.
Fun.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for Ghostly Tales with Debbie and Janine. We will definitely have to have Brandie back on for some more ghost tour guide, paranormal investigator stories.
Yes.
We will see you all next Sunday. Stay spooky, everyone. See you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.